Alone with pain, girl's last plea until her millionaire father burst in at midnight. The clock ticked loudly in the silence of the darkened room, each second echoing the girl's mounting fear. Chloe could feel the cold walls closing in around her, as though they were leaning in to listen to her muffled cries. The shadows seemed to stretch and dance, feeding off her anxiety. She was alone, truly alone, and the weight of that realization felt like a stone in her stomach. Just hours before, laughter had filled the grand mansion. Now all that remained were her whispers, pleading for help. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway, and her heart raced like a wild animal trapped in a cage. What was that? She knew she shouldn't be here, lurking in the stillness of her father's south opulent estate, but the thrill of secrecy had led her to this moment. There was something about the night that felt electric, charged with tension like a storm brewing on the horizon. Chloe's mind flickered back to the strange occurrences she'd heard about: the flickering lights, shadowy figures seen from the corner of one's eye. Most thought they were just stories to scare children, but she wasn't so sure. The way her father would sometimes stare into the darkness, as if something were watching him back, sent shivers down her spine. There was mystery in every corner of this house, histories carved into its very beams. Suddenly, a loud crash resonated down the corridor, making her jump and clutch at her own arms. Her breath hitched in her throat. Was she the only one still awake? Or was there something or someone out there? Chloe strained her ears, listening intently as a shiver of uncertainty coursed through her. Just then, the door to her room creaked open, and she was met with an unsettling surprise. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The door swung wide, revealing her father, face pale and eyes wide like a man who'd just seen a ghost. Chloe. He gasped, nearly stumbling into the room. What are you doing up? His voice was strained with something that rattled in the silence, a mix of dread and urgency. At that moment, she could feel the air thicken with tension, her heart racing anew. What did he know? What was lurking in the shadows? Dad, I heard something's not right. She barely managed to whisper, the fear tightening her chest. The fear was contagious, sparking between them, igniting an unspoken question that hung in the air. With eyes darting, he took a step into the room. You shouldn't be here. You have to trust me. We need to go now. But where would they go? As the dark silhouettes outside began to shift and sway, Chloe's mind swirled with confusion and a looming dread. Suddenly, the silence erupted into a loud bang from behind them, a sound that shattered the calm before a storm. What was that? Her voice trembled as she looked up at her father's terrified expression. They both froze, staring into the lingering darkness, pondering what came next. Chloe's pulse hammered in her ears as the room enveloped them in a heavy silence, broken only by the distant echoes of that ominous bang. Fear twisted her stomach as she clutched the edge of her bed, her father's presence a frail barrier against the unseen menace lurking just beyond the threshold. Chloe, he breathed, his voice faltering. We need to move. Now. He glanced over his shoulder, eyes darting toward the darkened hallway, as if he expected something to emerge from the shadows. What's out there? She managed to murmur, the words feeling foreign on her tongue, drowning in her fear. Dad, tell me. His gaze snapped back to her, filled with a wild desperation. I can't explain right now. Just trust me. We have to get out of the house, it's not safe. He took another step inside, the door creaking ominously behind him. Please, Chloe. Follow me. She hesitated, uncertainty gnawing at her. But the weight of his fear, so tangible in the air, propelled her to move. They crept together towards the door, every creak of the floorboard sounding like a shout in the oppressive quiet. Chloe could feel her breath catch in her throat, worry mixing with the thickening tension as they left the sanctuary of her room behind. As they stepped into the hallway, another crash resonated from deep within the house, louder this time, rattling the very walls around them. Chloe flinched, her heart racing faster. What was that? She gasped, glancing back at her father. His face was a mask of terror. "Stay close," he shouted as they edged down the dim corridor, guided only by the faint glow of the moonlight streaming through the windows, but the shadows were alive, darting back and forth at the edges of her vision. Each step felt like a dare, the weight of expectation and fear swirling thick in the air. Just then, a figure darted past the end of the hall, a fleeting silhouette, too quick to identify. Chloe's breath caught again, panic surged. "Did you see that?" she whispered, urgency flooding her voice. Her father tightened his grip on her arm, his face pale and drawn. "Move!" he hissed, propelling her forward. They dashed toward the grand staircase, the elegant banister fading into shadow. The moment they reached the staircase, Chloe paused, glancing up at the dark void above them. "Where are we going?" she questioned, fear creeping into her chest like ice. "To the cellar. It's south, the safest place," he urged, urgency pushing them forward. "We can lock ourselves in until we figure this out." With each step, the echoes of their hurried movements reverberated around them, the house groaning as if aware of their dread. Just then, a sinister whisper floated through the air, barely audible but unmistakable, chilling her to the bone. "Chloe." She spun toward her father, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" Before he could respond, the whisper echoed again, clearer this time and undeniably beckoning. Chloe, terror gripped her. "It knows my name," she gasped, panic clawing at her throat. "Stay close," her father cried, but she felt a cold grip around her heart, as if the house itself were holding her hostage. Then, there was a sudden flicker of lights cascading like starlight, plunging the room into swirling darkness before illuminating something behind her. Something that shouldn't be there. Chloe's breath quickened as she turned. What she saw made her heart stop in her chest, a shadowy figure, standing just beyond the corner of the hallway, watching. "Run!" her father shouted, but she felt paralyzed, rooted to the spot, locked in terror as the shadow took a step closer. The walls echoed her father's frantic warnings as something dark loomed behind him, closing in fast. Chloe turned to flee, yet, in her heart, she felt an unsettling truth: something monstrous was coming for them and they were running out of time. What would they uncover as they plunged deeper into the darkness? The next revelation was just around the corner, waiting. Chloe's feet finally moved, fueled by sheer adrenaline as they rushed down the staircase. Each step felt like a countdown, the dark house counting down to something terrible. Behind her, the whisper returned, relentless and mocking, "Chloe." Her heart thundered, pounding against her ribs like a wild animal desperate to escape. The shadow was getting closer. She could feel it creeping into her mind, slithering through the crevices of her thoughts. Her father led the way as they sped toward the cellar door, every second dragging like an eternity. "Open it," her father urged, his voice steady yet strained. She fumbled with the handle, her fingers trembling as her mind battled the fear threatening to consume her. "Please, please," she whispered, finally yanking it open. The door creaked ominously, revealing a set of stairs that descended into the dark belly of the house. "Go." He shoved her gently ahead, his eyes scanning their surroundings, filled with an urgency she had never seen before. Chloe scrambled down the steps, her heart racing with every muffled echo of their retreat. The cellar smelled damp and musty, a suffocating air thick with despair. As soon as they reached the bottom, her father slammed the door shut behind them. The darkness wrapped around them like a shroud, the faint light from the hallway flickering into oblivion. Chloe pressed herself against the wall, trying to steady her breathing as her father froze, ears straining to catch the sounds above. "Do you think it's gone?" she whispered, forcing herself to sound strong. I don't know." He didn't meet her gaze, his eyes darting nervously around the dim cellar. "But we can't stay here for long." It was a stark reminder of their vulnerability. His shoulders slumped as he leaned against the wall. "What's happening, Dad?" she pushed, biting back tears. "Why are we hiding?" His face twisted in pain, and suddenly Chloe saw a flicker of regret in his eyes. "I should have told you the truth. I thought I could protect you." "Protect me from what?" A chill ran down her back, a knot forming in her stomach. He took a breath, his voice trembling. "From my past. I thought moving here would make it safe, but it followed us." The weight of his words suffocated the air around them. Chloe's breath caught again. "What followed us?" I don't know how to explain it, Chloe. Something I saw years ago, something I thought I could outrun." His voice dropped to a whisper. "But it keeps coming back." "What is it?" Even in the darkness, she could see him struggling for words, as if they were trapped in his throat. "It's something that preys on fear. It feeds off it. And it knows us, Chloe. It knows our names, it knows our histories." A loud thud above echoed through the cellar, making them both jump. Chloe felt that cold grip return, crawling under her skin. "It's coming down," she gasped, fear completely overwhelming her. "No!" he yelled, panic rising in his voice. "We have to barricade the door." They scrambled, half-dazed, pushing boxes and old furniture against the door. All the while, that sinister whisper lingered in their minds, insisting, taunting. "Chloe." With the door partially barricaded, her father turned to her, his eyes wide with desperation. "If we don't stop it here, it will find us. We can't let it take us. How do we stop something like that?" Chloe's voice trembled, tears spilling over. He moved closer, grabbing her shoulders, his gaze piercing into hers. "We face our fear. That's the only way." As the whisper grew louder, the door rattled. They exchanged a glance, understanding what they had to do. But deep down, an unbearable question loomed: would they be strong enough to confront the terror? Then, the lights flickered, illuminating the cellar for a fleeting moment. A chilling figure emerged from the shadows, illuminated by the pale glow. It was not just a silhouette but a twisted reflection of their worst fears. "Chloe. Dad!" She screamed, paralyzed once more as the realization hit her like a punch to the gut. What if some secrets were better left buried? And as the darkness swallowed them whole, an ominous sense of dread washed over her. The true nightmare was just beginning. What twisted revelations awaited them in the depths of their confrontation? The looming darkness had answers, but would they be willing to pay the price? Chloe's eyes widened as the figure advanced, its distorted features contorting in a grotesque smile that clawed at her sanity. "Chloe." The whisper wrapped around her like a cold steel band, squeezing the breath from her lungs. "Dad, what is that?" She managed to choke out, her heart clawing its way up her throat. She had expected answers, comfort, anything other than this specter of dread. Her father stood frozen for a moment, fear etched deep into his face. "It's a manifestation of our fears, the memories we tried to bury." His voice faltered, breaking like glass under pressure. The figure crept closer, the shadows around it seeming to pulse as if alive. "Mommy," it twisted the word into a haunting tone, reminding her of her mother's absence, an empty space in her heart. "No!" Chloe shouted, shaking her head violently as tears streamed down her cheeks. Memories poured into her mind, threatening to drown her. A laugh echoing in an abandoned room, a soft touch from a hand that was no longer there. "What do we do?" she begged, desperation clawing at her. Her hands trembled, and she could almost feel the floor beneath her pulse with darkness. "Stay strong, Chloe," her father urged, his voice shaking. This isn't real. It feeds on our pain. If we don't give in, we can silence it. That gave her pause. She could feel the weight of their fears, their failures clawing at her. But it knows everything. How can we fight what we've already lost? By not letting it chain us to those memories. He gripped her shoulders tighter, locking eyes with her. Look at me, Chloe. We control the fear, it doesn't control us. The figure distorted, morphing into other shapes, faces of people Chloe lost and moments she regretted. Each one sliced deeper into her heart. You can't escape, Chloe, they hissed in unison, their voices a cacophony of accusations. Chloe squeezed her eyes shut, pushing against the flood of pain. You're not real. She yelled, and the walls trembled. You don't define me. The shadows whirled, an electric charge in the air causing her hair to stand on end, but she held on to her father's gaze, refusing to let the darkness snatch her away again. With a determined breath, Chloe opened her eyes, fighting against the pull of her doubts. I remember the good times. The love. My mom wouldn't want me to live in fear. The voices hesitated, the mocking laughter faltering. For a moment, their power dimmed. Chloe. Her father shouted, joining her in the chant. We are not our past. We will not be broken. That affirmation struck a chord, and a bright light erupted from within Chloe, suddenly illuminating the dark corners of the cellar. The figures shrieked, struggling against the warmth of acceptance washing over them. Now. Her father prompted. Focus on what you value. Let it push back. Chloe felt the warmth swell, an embrace from memories filled with laughter and love. I am loved. I am strong. She proclaimed, her voice gaining strength, shattering the shadows around them. With a collective scream, the figures began to dematerialize, dissipating like smoke into the air. Chloe seized the moment, breathing easier as the grip of fear loosened, but then, her father gasped, pulling her close. Chloe, we need to get out of here. It's not over. What do you mean? She looked up at him, confusion mingling with newfound resolve. Sometimes defeating one fear only opens the door to others. We need to get to the other side of this darkness before it returns. His eyes darted back to the door, which rattled violently. Chloe's stomach dropped. What's coming? I don't know, but we're not alone. Whatever severed us from our past will soon be back for more. Just as he finished speaking, the cellar door burst open. A cold rush of air extinguished their tiny source of light. Chloe's heart leaped, terror clawing at her once more. Run! Her father commanded as shadows surged into the room, thickening around them like ink in water. They sprinted back toward the stairs, but every step felt like pushing through molasses. Chloe glanced back, and in the swirling darkness, something even more sinister began to take shape. Chloe panicked clawed at her throat. She had to find a way through the chaos surrounding them, but did they even stand a chance against what lay ahead? As they reached the top of the steps, the whisper once more curled its icy fingers around them. It was time to face an even greater horror. What awaited them beyond that threshold? The moment they burst through the door, a chill swept over them, sending shivers racing down Chloe's spine. The cellar's shadows clawed at her heels, hungry for the warmth of her heart. She could feel their breath, an icy gust that hissed at the edge of her consciousness. Each fleeting thought, each lingering memory, threatened to pull her back into the darkness. Keep moving. Her father shouted, urgency lacing his words as they darted down the dimly lit hallway. The light from the cellar faded with each step, swallowed by the consuming darkness that crept along the walls. Chloe's breath trembled as she struggled to keep pace. What is it? What's coming? I can't tell, but I can feel its presence. It's more than the shadows, it's like a void screaming for us. Panic laced his voice, the urgency palpable in the air. The shadows twisted, stretching into grotesque shapes reminiscent of the fears they had just faced. Then what do we do? Her heart raced, each beat echoing in her ears like a drum. What could they possibly do against a force that thrived on fear? Stay together. We can't let it isolate us. Suddenly, metal clanged nearby, and the sound reverberated through the corridor, sending Chloe stumbling backward. She collided with her father, who wrapped an arm around her protectively. "Did you hear that?" She gasped, their eyes darting to the source of the noise, ink-dark shadows swirling like a tempest. "It's trying to divide us," her father yelled. "We have to focus, keep speaking out what we're fighting for." Chloe felt the weight of dread reforming around her, pressing down as she fought against it. "I want my mom back. I want." The darkness quaked in response, twisting violently as if in rage. "You cannot have what is lost, Chloe." It roared, a cacophony of distorted voices rumbling through the corridor. "No. I can't lose to this," she shouted, defiance igniting within her. "I will remember the light, the love." Mom would be fought. The shadows recoiled, shuddering under the force of her conviction. Chloe's heart raced faster now, sparking a light within her, a flicker of hope that danced defiantly against the despair. "Keep it up, Chloe," her father urged, pulling her closer. "Together, we can push this back." They ran, the space ahead darkening, as if the void itself was hunting them. Posters peeling from the walls seemed to stretch and crawl, faces of her past grimacing in agony, tearing at the scars of her memory. "You're nothing without the pain," they taunted. "No!" Chloe screamed, feeling her resolve shatter like glass. "Pain is not my identity." The air crackled, their footsteps echoing against the unforgiving floor. Each word seemed to add fuel to the fire growing inside her. She thought of her mom again, her smile lighting up the gray corners of her life. Chloe called on that warmth, building it like a shield against the encroaching darkness. "Chloe. Focus on that," her father urged, his eyes fierce, filled with determination. And then it crashed down upon them. The walls rattled as an unseen force pushed back against their hearts. The shadows swirled, forming into a singular, monstrous visage, an abomination that cried out in twisted laughter, embodying every fear, every failure that had ever haunted them. "Your memories are mine," it screeched, extending long, claw-like tendrils toward them. "What now?" Chloe's voice was barely a whisper. Fear clawed back, making her throat tight. "Together," her father shouted, stepping forward, their hands clasped tightly. "We fight it head-on." Just as they braced themselves, the laughter erupted louder, drowning out their resolve. The shadows surged forward, wild and ravenous, ready to engulf them whole. Chloe's heart thundered with terror as their rage closed in. "Dad, she began, but before she could finish, the darkness erupted into chaos, wrenching the air from her lungs as it came crashing down. What would be left of them on the other side? Would they still be whole, or would this be the moment fear claimed them forever? As the shadows writhed and twisted, a blinding light erupted ahead, casting the gloom aside with radiant hope. Was it salvation, or yet another trap? The door loomed before them, crackling with energy. "Chloe. Move." With a final push, they plunged into the light, but the void screamed behind them, relentless and unyielding. Would they find escape within, or was the truth far worse than the darkness that had hunted them? As they burst through the door, the light enveloping them swept away the shadows for just a heartbeat. It felt warm, welcoming, but Chloe couldn't shake the feeling that it was a deceptive facade. Her father's arms still held hers tightly, anchoring her in this moment. But as quickly as the warmth wrapped around them, it began to flicker, like a candle threatened by the wind. The blinding brilliance warped into dizzying flashes of color that pained her eyes. "What is this place?" Chloe gasped, stumbling forward. "Just keep moving." Her father's voice pierced through the disorientation. They stepped into an expansive chamber, vast and surreal, with walls adorned in shimmering, shifting patterns that made the very air feel alive. It was beautiful, almost haunting. She could hear whispers in the corners, soft and unfamiliar. Each sound made her skin crawl with unease. "Can you hear them?" Chloe whispered, her pulse quickening again. "Focus," her dad replied, dread creeping into his voice. "Stay with me. Whatever this is, we have to find our way out." Another echo called from behind them, a shuffling, scraping sound that sent a chill racing down her spine. They spun around, eyes sharp, seeking the source. The whispers swelled, turning into discordant chants echoing Chloe's worst fears. "You can't run from what you've lost." "No!" she screamed, the fear pulsing through her veins as cold as ice. Memories clawed at her mind. They showed her the happiest moments with her mom, layered beneath the crushing weight of grief. Chloe shook her head violently, forcing the memories away. "Chloe." Her father's voice cut through her turmoil like a knife. "We have to find something to combat this. Focus on your memories, the good ones, and summon their strength." With every ounce of willpower, she summoned her happiest moments, picturing her mother's radiant smile, the sound of laughter at their family dinners, the warm hugs that had once made everything feel safe. But as she fought to keep the shadows at bay, the room itself responded. The walls began to close in, the shimmering patterns twisting into grotesque faces, mocking her memories. "You're nothing without your pain," they taunted. "No!" Chloe shouted, squeezing her father's hand tighter. "Pain is not all I am. I exist beyond that." Just then, the whispers began to coalesce into one powerful force. "You've already lost. You cannot save her." It was angry and hollow, the shadows gathering like storm clouds overhead, darkening the vibrant colors. The tension escalated, a gust of wind howling through the chamber. Chloe's heart raced, her vision narrowed. But deep down in her core, a fire ignited, a determination fueled by love and memories. "I won't lose to you. I carry her light within me." Light erupted from her hands, a shield that pulsed in rhythmic defiance. Her dad stepped beside her, mirroring the wave of energy she unleashed. The room crackled with tension. They became a beacon against the encroaching void, and the shadows recoiled just enough for Chloe to see. "Together," her father urged again. In that moment of clarity, she gripped his hand tighter. The echoes pushed back, despair loomed, but an idea sparked. What if we turned the pain into strength? What if love could shatter this darkness? With a synchronized breath, they shouted, "We choose love over fear." The bright energy surged from their clasped hands, a shockwave that pushed through the darkness, defying the chilling whispers that swirled around them. With each heartbeat, the room shook, the shadows fought back harder. "You cannot escape," the voices warned, their tones rising in a desperate crescendo. Chloe's heart thundered, but she felt the light grow stronger. "I will find my way," she declared, as cracks of brilliance spread through the dark, fighting back with raw, unyielding desperation. With a final push, the chamber erupted, the shadows retreating as if in terror. But just as the grotesque forms faded, a shadow spun from the darkness, fierce and towering. It swirled into form, crimson eyes relentlessly focused on Chloe and her father. "You think light can protect you?" the voice echoed, cold and malevolent. "What now?" her father whispered, anxiety etched into every line of his face. Before they could react, the shadow lunged, its claws aimed at what they had tried so hard to protect. Chloe realized they weren't out of danger yet. As the dark talon pierced the bright glow, a deafening silence followed. Would their defiance hold, or would the darkness consume them whole, once and for all? Chloe felt the tendrils of dread wrap around her heart as the shadow's dark claw tore through the shimmering shield they had conjured. Time slowed. Panic surged through her veins, every instinct screaming at her to break free, to run. But she was rooted in place, her father's grip anchoring her, reminding her that they needed to stay together. Don't let go. She yelled, her voice a tremor amidst the chaos. The shadow loomed closer, casting a chilling cloud over their light. Its crimson eyes seemed to pierce through her, searching for the cracks in her resolve. What can love do against the darkness? What can you really protect? It hissed, its voice a cold whisper that crawled under her skin. Chloe's breath hitched. Doubt crept in. Could love really defy this malevolence? Focus on your strengths. Her father urged. We're stronger together. Remember the love you felt, your mother's love. As he spoke, he fought against the tightening grip of fear that bound them. Chloe felt her resolve wavering, but in that battle of wills, she turned inward, feeling the warmth of the memories she had summoned before. Flashes of joy washed over her, her mother twirling in the sun, laughter echoing through summer picnics, the sweet smell of fresh cookies baking on cold winter days. Each moment felt like a lifeline, tethering her to the belief that love could indeed fortify them. Gathering her composure, she squeezed her father's hand and once more shouted, "We choose love." A burst of light ignited between them, pushing back against the shadow with renewed vigor. They weren't just fighting for themselves, they were battling for every person who had ever felt lost, every soul that had ever shivered in despair. Love wasn't a superficial defense, it was a weapon, and they wielded it fiercely, but the creature didn't flinch. Instead, it morphed, twisting its form as if to mock their effort. You think you can outshine the abyss? Your love is fragile. It is but a flicker in this darkness. The shadow lunged again. Chloe felt the fear claw at her throat. No! She cried out, feeling strength pour through her. Love can burn brighter than you ever could. With that declaration, she pictured every cherished moment, allowing them to weave into a tapestry of light that erupted from her and her father like a supernova. The shadow recoiled, its twisted form flickering at the edges. No! This isn't over. It bellowed, desperation creeping into its tone. But the brilliance pushing against it intensified, and Chloe felt something shift. The chaotic chamber began to change, the shimmering walls twinkled with radiant colors, alive with the spirit of love they had summoned. Chloe's heart thundered, sensing the environment responding to their light. Keep pushing. Her father commanded, an urgency in his voice that surged through her. We're almost there. The shadow shrieked, a cacophony of dissonance that threatened to drown them. Each pulse of their energy charged the air, building momentum like a storm. Yet, just as it seemed their brilliance might break free, a thunderous crack split the air, sending violent shudders through the chamber. A fissure opened beneath their feet, pulling at them with an insatiable hunger. Chloe! Her father shouted as he stumbled back, struggling to maintain his balance, but she refused to let go. With a desperate leap, she wound both arms around him. Panic flooded her system, but together they stood resolute. We'll never give in. Their intertwined hands sparked with energy, a promise that bound them against the chaos. As the shadow convulsed, shrieking in rage, another wave crashed over them, a final blow that sent vibrations through Chloe's entire being. Were they losing? She clenched her father's hand tighter, refusing to fade into despair. Together, they shouted one last time, their voices resonating like a battle cry against the rising tide of darkness. Then, just as the chaos seemed ready to consume them, a blinding flash erupted. Chloe felt herself lift, the light smashing through the darkness in blinding clarity. But just as she began to wonder if they had emerged victorious, the memory of her mother lingered ghostly and soft at the edges. Chloe had whispered, a sound felt more than heard, and then there was silence, leaving her breathless as the light flickered again, shadows once more creeping in from the corners of her mind. What would the lingering darkness do next? Was the fight truly over, or had they merely stepped into a deeper abyss? The questions swirled, and Chloe steeled herself, realizing they still weren't safe. With resolve renewed, she looked up, ready to uncover whatever came next. The fight had just begun. A sudden pounding echoed like thunder against Chloe's ears, drowning out the fading brightness that flickered around her. She squinted into the encroaching shadows, each darkened corner of the chamber clawing at her sanity. Her heart raced, the adrenaline coursing through her as she fought to suppress the creeping dread. "Dad!" she gasped, her voice barely a whisper, coated with urgency. Her father's face was still illuminated by that last vestige of light, but the darkness was rising fast. "Chloe!" he lamented, battling the encroaching gloom. "Stay close. We can't let it take us." His determination shone through, but Chloe could see the strain etched across his features. Desperation dug in deeper than she had ever imagined, but as the shadows writhed and stretched, the air thickened. Tendrils crept closer, curling around them like sinister snakes, whispers of doubt slithering through their minds. What's left of love when faced with the void? The shadow taunted, Chloe's thoughts flickered, spinning like a kaleidoscope of fears. Her heart ached under the weight of the loss they might face. "No!" she shouted, choking back her rising panic. "We're not afraid of you." But the darkness danced in response, suffocating her emotions, swirling into a tempest. The shield they had conjured flickered like a candle, struggling against the fierce gusts. Suddenly, from the heart of this turmoil, an unexpected vision ignited. A shimmering outline appeared, a figure, familiar and warm. "Chloe!" The voice was soft, yet fierce, like a bright star emerging from a black sky. "Mom?" Chloe blinked, her breath hitching. "Is that really you?" "Yes, my love," the figure whispered, shimmering against the thick web of darkness. "I'm with you, but you must remember. You hold the power of our love. Don't let it dim." Chloe's heart pounded uncontrollably as hope crackled in her chest. She could feel her mother's presence, a warm embrace weaving through the suffocating shadows. "We won't let you win," she cried, looking at her father, whose eyes reflected her newly found resolve. "Use the light," her mother's voice urged, echoing through the storm. "Let it grow." With newfound determination, Chloe gathered her thoughts. She envisioned each cherished memory, the day her mother had taught her to ride a bike, their shared giggles echoing through the house, the warmth of her mother's arms during stormy nights. These weren't just memories, they were a part of her. "Together!" she shouted, gripping her father's hand tighter. "We embrace the light." The glow surged once more, radiating outwards like the dawn chasing off the night. The shadows shrank back, screeching at the light's intensity. But the creature was relentless. "You think this will save you?" it hissed, lashing out with a dark arm, clawing through the air toward them. Chloe's pulse quickened, dread mingling with strength. "It's not about us," she yelled, channeling all her energy into a brilliant light that coursed through her and embedded itself in her father. "It's about everyone who needs hope." Another explosion of illumination erupted, stretching beyond them, warding off the darkness piece by piece. Chloe felt the room tremble, the walls vibrating with the force of their combined energy. It was intoxicating and terrifying, yet the shadow shrieked louder. "No! You think your little flicker can shatter the abyss? You are nothing." Chloe's heart twisted at the creature's bleakness, but she held firm, letting resilience rise within her. "Maybe it's not the flicker. Maybe it's the fire." As if in answer, flames of brilliance exploded outward, engulfing the chamber, and Chloe felt herself lifted once more. A primal roar erupted from the darkness, a frenzy of rage and despair that echoed in her ears as the explosion of light surged, but right when it seemed they'd vanquished the horror, a fractured whisper pierced through. "The darkness, it's only one part of a greater whole," it taunted, leaving her breath hitching in confusion. Chloe's stomach churned. "What do you mean?" But before she could get an answer, the fissures began to widen beneath them, spitting forth more shadows. The group began to swallow her hope, dragging it back into the depths. "Chloe!" her father yelled, pulling her close as the ground shattered beneath them. "We need to jump." Chloe's mind reeled in panic. What awaited them below? Were they heading into safety or deeper into despair? With a shared look of steely resolve, they knew they had to trust in the light, but could they face the unknown together once more? As they jumped, time stood still, the chaos suspended for just a heartbeat. What awaited them in that abyss? Would light conquer darkness, or were they stepping into the heart of something even more monstrous? The moment they leaped, Chloe's breath caught in her throat, her heart racing in wild sync with the falling rush. The world morphed around them, the darkness clawing at their sides like icy fingers, longing to pull them deeper into its suffocating embrace. Each passing second felt drawn out, the echoes of the shadows' screams trailing behind them, a chilling reminder of the horrors they had left behind. Thud. They landed hard. The impact jarred Chloe's body, pain shooting up through her legs as she rolled onto the cold, unforgiving ground. When she blinked against the glimmer of light that slowly peeled her surroundings into focus, dread settled back into the pit of her stomach. They stood in a forest, but it wasn't just any forest. The trees loomed like giants, their gnarled branches twisted into grotesque shapes, silhouetted by an unnatural moon that bathed everything in an eerie glow. "Dad, where are we?" Chloe gasped, struggling to her feet and looking at her father, who still looked bewildered. "I don't know," he stammered, scanning the area. The air felt alive with murmurs, a hushed wind carrying whispers that chilled her bones. "But we have to keep moving. We can't linger here." Chloe nodded, the weight of dread pressing upon her chest as they navigated deeper into the shadowy forest. The darkness lurked at the periphery of the moonlight, claws stretching and twisting behind the cover of trees. As they walked, the ground shifted beneath them, the once solid earth feeling unsteady, soft like wet clay. Chloe glanced back, and dread twisted in her gut. The shadows had followed, creeping closer, hungry for them. "It's not over," she shouted, her voice barely above a whisper, catching in her throat as fear clawed at her resolve. "We can fight them," her father urged, determination flickering across his face. But the smothering silence replied with nothing but the rustle of leaves and the overwhelming heartbeat of their own anxiety. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, tall, contorted limbs, with eyes that burned bright with a chilling intensity. A creature, both mesmerizing and horrifying. It stepped forward, breaking through the light's fragile barrier. "You wish to escape?" It rumbled, the voice a gravelly echo that reverberated in Chloe's bones. "What if this is merely a taste of what you truly fear?" Chloe's breath hitched, a lump forming in her throat. "We're not afraid of you," she shouted back, her resolve wavering but refusing to break. The creature let out a low laugh, each chortle slicing through the thick air. "Fear is just a part of you, sweet girl. Breathe it in. Understand it. Embrace it." With that, the shadows erupted, tendrils lunging towards them, clawing at their flesh, pulling them apart. "Dad!" Chloe screamed, terror paralyzing her. She was about to be engulfed when out of nowhere a blast of light surged forth, shooting from her father's outstretched arms, illuminating the darkness for just a heartbeat. "Hold on to that flashlight. Find the light within," he bellowed, gripping Chloe's arm tightly as the shadows recoiled. "Focus, Chloe." But the promise of safety faded quickly as the creature surged closer, filling the space around them with a suffocating silence. "You can't escape what you are," it taunted, its voice a chilling whisper that crawled beneath her skin. As the abyss threatened to close in, Chloe felt her pulse quicken. "Love can conquer all," she shouted, holding on to her memories of brighter days, drawing strength from the echoes of her laughter, her mother's warm embraces. The tendrils of shadow drew nearer, reaching for her once more, but this time, she felt a light flickering inside her. "Together!" she exclaimed, and just like that, she closed her eyes, summoned every drop of strength, every memory, and released that radiant energy before her. But how much light was needed to fight something so deep-rooted in darkness, who would sacrifice everything to protect the ones they loved? Suddenly, a sinister laughter danced around them, ominous and haunting. "Let us see how strong you really are," the creature croaked. And the shadows surged, drowning everything in chaotic pandemonium. Would their light be enough to push back the darkness, or were they destined to fall into its clutches forever? As the shadows surged closer, a wild surge of desperation filled Chloe. She felt the heat of her father's grip tightening around her hand, steadying her even as dread clawed at her insides. "We have to fight," she shouted, defiance blazing in her eyes, her heart echoing with a stubborn rhythm against the consuming darkness. "Remember the love. It's our shield," her father urged, eyes fierce with conviction. Chloe closed her eyes, breathing in the memories, the warmth of her mother's laughter wrapping around her like a soft blanket, the joyful afternoons spent in the park, and the sweet aroma of fresh-baked cookies. Each image flooded her mind, rippling outward with radiant energy. Light poured from within her, filling her with hope as she whispered, "We choose love." With that mantra as her anchor, she thrust her hands forward. A cascade of luminous warmth erupted, pushing against the encroaching shadows. The room erupted into a swirl of dazzling light, illuminating the forest around them. Chloe could feel the malevolent creature retreating, its chilling laughter faltering as the brilliance surrounded them. "You think you can banish what's inside?" it shrieked, thrashing at the light. "You are nothing without your fears." "No!" Chloe screamed, the light within her soaring to the next level. "We are more than our pain." A flare of golden brightness erupted, spiraling outward and casting the darkness away. The gnarled trees began to bend and twist, the shadows retreating as they consumed their fears instead. The sickly groans of the creature turned into howls of despair, as it writhed against the power they didn't understand. "Keep going. Feed it love, Chloe," her father shouted, his voice cutting through the haze of chaos. "Mom, I feel you with me," she cried. The force surged within her once more, a tidal wave of warmth, filling the cracks of her heart's ache. "You taught me to look for the light. I won't let darkness win." The creature writhed, its form distorting into grotesque shapes. "You cannot escape me," it shrieked, scrambling for balance against the raw brilliance of their united heartbeat, but Chloe felt the power of joy and love colliding with the shadows, illuminating the night. "You don't own me. I am loved. I am strong. I will not be broken." As she spoke those words, Chloe aimed her hands at the abomination. Bright streams of light exploded forth, creating a blinding halo. The shadow screamed, twisting and vanishing in the face of their love. The depths of darkness roared, thrashing about madly before it began to dissolve into brilliant sparkles, illuminating the terrible void that loomed around them. "Chloe!" her father shouted, and in that instant, they shared a fierce determination, gripping hands tighter as the shadows shattered away, each crumbling piece revealing brighter colors beneath. The murky night was yielding to clarity and radiant strength. "We're almost there." Just then, the forest reverted, transforming into a sunlit meadow. The air shimmered with golden light, banishing every remnant of darkness that threatened to swallow them whole. It felt surreal, intoxicating, a feeling of hope blooming in their chests. Chloe paused, gazing around the familiar landscape, her heart swelled with joy. "Is this?" "Yes," her father replied, tears glimmering in his eyes. "You did this. We did this together." They embraced, the weight of their worries and fears lifting like fog under the sun. Behind them, the shadows were merely memories trailing like wisps of smoke. The darkness that had once threatened to consume them faded away entirely, replaced by dazzling warmth. Chloe knew the battle had forged them stronger, but shadows lingered in corners of her heart. "What if it returns?" she whispered, uncertainty creeping back. Her father smiled softly. "Every time it tests us, we'll remember. Love will always find a way. It's the strongest light we have." With that, they stood hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next. Together, they would embrace both darkness and light, knowing true strength was in their unity. Chloe breathed deeply, filled with resolve. "We will never be alone in this again," she vowed, her heart warm and steady, and as they stepped forward into the brightness, hearts renewed, they knew that together, they could conquer anything. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling finale. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support.